for watching L3 Television. I'm Erica Draper. Up next, we have Candace Renee that visited the Hard Rock Cafe for a benefit for a local radio legend. She has some exclusive interviews with some of the most well-known radio personalities from the city of Memphis. Stay tuned and check it out.
All right, now we are here with Mr. Emmett Superstar Brown. How you doing this afternoon?
I am fantastic. What about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, and I'm great to be standing here talking to you.
Great.
Now, I want to ask you, the superstar. Now, where did that come from, and who had it first?
I had it first. CJ was coming into Memphis from New Orleans, and then we became brothers at that. He says, only two superstars? I said, that's me and you. Yes.
Well, there you go. So I want to ask, how do you think that CJ has influenced Memphis radio?
Well, not only influenced Memphis radio, but influenced me too. CJ have been a product. When I say a product, he made me what he is today. If you go all the way back to the clubbing, when I got started, I was one of the originals. If you remember Club Infinity, 2001, New Centurion, Maximilian, Western Frontier, Buddies, Club No Name, Expo, that's me.
Okay.
And then, hey, when he came about, it was excellent because we joined together as one. It's just like a marriage.
So I want to ask, with you being in the game as long as you've been and contributing what you have to the city, I want to ask, do you ever get nervous still before you do a big event, or if there's going to be a celebrity feature, do you ever still get those nerves or those butterflies in your stomach before you're about to, go on?
It is so strange that you asked that. When stars come in, they call me. They be more nervous. I don't. Yeah, I mean, it's a natural thing. It's just come natural. And the many years I've been in it, it's a natural thing. You probably know my brother, all over town, Chris Brown. He done moved from Vegas to Texas to California and back to Memphis. So it becomes you. It's just like you being born all over again. But as long as people is happy and we put smiles on their face, that's number one. We throw that blessing to them, they enjoy it, and I get blessed by doing this. I mean, I've did it so long, it's natural. So CJ is a natural human being, and he's good at what he's doing.
Now, for you personally, what has been the greatest moment of your career? The greatest moment, like something that you will never forget. When you're on your deathbed, you're going to remember that moment of your career when you was at that heightened point of your feelings.
The most important thing I ever will remember is when Melvin or Cookin' Jones gave me my first 45 record at WLOK. From that, I've been going ever since. I'm in the production field, and I must tell you, I'm very successful at what I'm doing. I won't tell you how much money I'm making, but I'm very successful in the production field. I've seen a lot of great artists. They're going on, and a lot of great artists still here. But I'm still getting calls every day, every day, every day. I said every day. All right, every day.
So yesterday?
I got a call.
Today?
Yes.
You gonna get one tomorrow?
I promise you I will.
Look at you.
All right? Okay.
Blessed.
I'm more than just blessed. And I just want to give it and touch the hearts that gave it to me. They made me the superstar, and I'm going to continue my success until the day I leave this earth. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. Like, you've been such a fun spirit, and I can honestly say my generation and representing my generation, we appreciate all that you and the ones in your generation have contributed to music, Memphis radio, and all of it. Now, last question I want to ask you: being in your business, you have to be knowledgeable of a lot of different genres of music. What's your favorite genre? Other than, don't say soul, because we in Memphis. I mean, what's like really like something that nobody would expect you to love?
Gospel. Gospel. I listen to gospel music. Man, when I was traveling, when I'm traveling, especially driving, I put on my Uncle CD, which is Clay Evans of Chicago, and I blank everything out, and I put on his CD, and that uplifts my spirit all the time. And I'm blessed. I'm blessed. And CJ is my #1 fan, of course, beside Melvin the Cookin' Jones, who got me started. Yes.
Well, thank you for being here and for just blessing the city with your talent. And yes, you are blessed. You're continuously blessing this city, so it's just blessings all around, and I appreciate it, okay?
Thank you.
All right, so we are here with the wonderful Mike Evans of K97. How you doing?
Good. Nice to meet you, Candace.
It's wonderful to meet you, too. Okay, so I want to ask you about CJ. How do you think that he has influenced Memphis radio?
Wow, he's like the trendsetter when it came to his brand and his style of morning show. He's the kind of one that brought everybody out of that 8 o'clock, don't be late, kind of rhyming kind of stuff to just cutting edge comedy. You know, CJ's comedy bits and the way he hit Memphis radio was so unique at the time that you know, I was a big fan of him back in the day. Before I came to Memphis, I knew about CJ Morgan, so getting the chance to take his job when he left was even bigger. So if it weren't for CJ, I wouldn't be here right now.
You're right. And, you know, you're a household name. Everybody loves Mike Evans. You know, I love Mike Evans. You love Mike Evans.
Crazy about it.
So I want to ask, how has he not only influenced Memphis radio, but influenced you and your style and what you bring to Memphis radio?
CJ Morgan, those are some big shoes to fill. And I didn't know until I got to Memphis how big those shoes were. You know, you get on the air, I was a killer in Georgia, a killer in South Carolina, and then you get on the air in Memphis and you answer the request line and people are saying, when's CJ coming back? You know, when's CJ? Because they think he's just out for a while, you know. And I said, no, I'm CJ's replacement. So he really was the person that made me realize when I got to Memphis, I got to step up my game. Yeah, so, and he did a lot of unique stuff. You know, you don't come in and do the same thing a person does, try to imitate a style, but you try to, you know, bring your style to a city, and it's worked so far for the last 25 years. I need 25 more, though. Got a lot of bills to pay. I need 25 more years.
So I want to ask you personally, now this is about you. What would you say is the greatest moment of your career in radio?
Wow. Woo! And see, I don't think the Snaggletooth makeover we did 2 years ago, we took a guy that had a busted up mouth and I gave him a perfect smile. It's a lot of stuff, you know. Being 25 years, you get a chance to see a lot of stuff, you know. To be on top of Mayor Harrington being elected mayor of Memphis at the time was huge. Earlier on, we did our show at Hurt Village for an entire month. Every morning, we broadcast live from Hurt Village. We did shows, you know. So the Civil Rights Museum opening up. But I think some of my biggest moments were really off the air, and a lot of people don't know it. I was able to, I was doing a morning show, and over a 2.5-hour period, I was able to talk a woman out of committing suicide. And it was probably 12 years ago. 5 years later, after that, she came back and called me. She said, I'm the girl that was on the phone that was going to kill herself that morning. She wanted to let me know that she was married. She had a child, and she was thankful. So, you know, really, when it comes to things like that, that was probably the biggest moment that nobody ever heard for my life here in Memphis is on the air and off the air.
That's amazing. Now look at him. Mike Evans not only got his own talk show, but he's a psychiatrist saving lives. Look at that.
Don't go anywhere. Just let me get off the air. I can help you. Yeah, so.
All right. So I want to ask, do you ever get nervous before you do an interview, maybe with a celebrity or anything? I know you've been doing this for a while, but with, you know, everybody has their craft and what they like to do. And with this being a passion, do you ever get nervous?
Yeah, in a way, if I'm a groupie of sorts, because I can be a groupie of sorts. If I can tell you a few occasions that it happened. I had Isaac Hayes and Barry White at the same time. They came in the studios when we were downtown, and we had a 5-minute, 10-minute interview. I was scared to death. Thelma from Good Times. You know, because I was, as a kid, you know, for a little black kid, it was like Thelma, yeah. So I was a little intimidated there. I can tell you about a nightmare interview that I had. It was with Thea Vidal, the comedian. She came in and roasted me for 20 minutes some 15 years ago, but that was like my nightmare interview. But, you know, you kind of just, you know, you do your research and try to find a comfort zone with the person. You got people that come in great moods, and sometimes you talk to people that are just And I would tell you who some of those people are, but I won't. This is not the time for it. Not the time.
You're not going to dish it?
Not going to do it. Not going to dish any dirt today.
Not for a second. Not a last name.
Starts with letter P. That's all I can do.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. I really appreciate it. He is a character in person and off the air. So
I wouldn't miss this for the world. I love CJ Morgan to death, and I pray for his recovery, and I'm glad to see so many people came out.
Lovely. Well, Mr. Evans, I hope to be in your spot one day.
You can have it. Vacation. I got all the kids. We want to go out of town.
Well, I feel you. So yeah, let me whenever you need I'm here. All right.
We'll do some business.
Got you. Thank you so much for speaking with us. All right, we're here with the beautiful Miss Angela Jackson of B101. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fabulous.
All right, now I just heard you talk about CJ, and I want to know exactly how do you think that he has contributed to Memphis radio and to you personally and what you've contributed to radio?
Wow, CJ is like, he's a legend. We all look up to CJ. Growing up, all I ever heard was CJ Superstar Morgan. I mean, no matter where you go, people always say, do you know CJ Morgan? Everybody in radio in Memphis and in the industry look up to CJ Morgan, so it's such an honor to know CJ. I never had a chance to work with him, but I've heard so many people talk about CJ Morgan, so I'm so honored to be here tonight for this big celebration for CJ Morgan.
Awesome. And I want to ask, what exactly do you have planned for this year, Miss Angela Jackson? What can we expect from you from 2015?
Well, I mean, I'm still learning a lot of things. Although I've been in radio for over 20 years, I'm looking in exploring new projects, meeting more artists, in-depth interviews, just enhancing my craft, possibly doing some more TV and traveling. So I'm looking forward to doing many more events, not only in Memphis, but maybe on a national level as well.
Wonderful. I'm a huge fan, and I'm looking forward to it, too. Now, also, you said that you've been in radio for over 20 years. So can I ask, what has been the greatest moment of your career?
Wow. I have so many. Can't name just one, but events like this where we support one another is always a good feeling when you could be among your peers in the industry. So Memphians give you so much support and love. So that's what I love most about just being in radio and in amongst my peers. It's always a good feeling.
Awesome. Thank you so much for talking with us, Ms. Jackson. Once again, I'm a huge fan, and you've brought so much love to this event for CJ as well. So thank you once again. All right, so we are here with the amazing and talented Mr. Stan Bell. How are you doing this afternoon?
Lovely. It's a great time. Thank you so much. I'm doing wonderful. CJ Morgan, the tribute, what can I say? Awesome.
Great. So I want to ask you, how do you think CJ has contributed to you and what you have contributed to Memphis radio? Your own style.
Well, CJ Morgan is, he's awesome. He's a professional. He likes to have fun on the radio, and that's what it's all about. When I first met CJ, had to be officially 89. We did a couple of club gigs together, and I had no idea I'd be working with him. At K97. 1989. I started in 86, but of course CJ had been on the air probably about maybe 10 years prior to that. But he changed my life because he made me become more professional in radio. But yet he said, don't lose that fun element. So he's been an inspiration to me through the years.
And how, again, do you think that he has contributed overall to Memphis radio?
How has he contributed?
Overall to Memphis radio.
Well, CJ had a way of compelling his audience to listen to the radio. And we need DJs and their personalities like that because there's so many other things you probably could be doing, but CJ made you feel like you had to wake up to him, listen to him, because not only was he funny, he was insightful. He did his what we call show prep. That means he did his homework to make everybody listen to him in the morning.
Awesome. Now, you are a legend in your own right as well. You are. So I want to ask you. And
roll call. Hey,
he's such a character.
What you got to say? Who's on the mic with Stan Bell today? All right, I'll start back to the interview.
Yes. Stan Bell. All right. So I want to ask you, you've been in radio for a long time, over 20 years. So I want to ask, in your long history of being in radio, what is the greatest moment of your career?
You know what? Actually, it started before I was actually on commercial radio. Had a chance to meet Prince. When I was in college at UT Martin, he performed a show back in 1982 at UT Martin. So that was my first official MC gig. And when I did that, I knew I had to be on commercial radio, because that's what got me bit by the broadcasting bug. I really got bit by the bug in 1977 with Herb the K. Nealon. That's old school, maybe before your time. But the Prince concert at UT Martin was the one that made me say, I got to do this for a living.
Thank you.
Everything.
You are so much fun.
You feel me right now? Hold on 1 second. I got the kids watching.
He is such a character. Thank you so much for talking with us, Mr. Bell. Like, you have no idea. I've been listening to you for a long time. My mother loves you. I love you. You love you. So thank you for talking with us, okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, so we're here with Mr. Dwayne Benton, formerly with 95.7 Hallelujah FM. How you doing this afternoon?
I am good. Hey, Candace, how are you?
I am wonderful. It feels great to stand here and talk to you. So I want to ask you, how has CJ influenced you in your time on radio and your individual style?
Well, let me tell you this. CJ Morgan was one of the people who told me in my spirit, you can do that. It was CJ Morgan, it was Stan Bell, and then there was some ladies in radio that I had that smooth sound, but it was CJ. I loved this guy as a kid growing up in Memphis, and just to hear him and see him tonight and know that I'm overwhelmed, because I know that him being here is a sign that God is still working miracles. So thank God for what he's doing, going through, and I'm just glad to be a part of this support factor to help him.
Now, how do you think, in your own words, how do you think that CJ has influenced the entirety of Memphis radio?
You know, in a city where they talk about Dr. King died and so much depression and the racism of white and black, CJ made life seem real, livable, and fun. That's what I got from his show every morning. He was just a character, and his cast of characters was just, I can't even describe it.
Wonderful. And I want to ask you, and as long as you've been in radio, what has been the most memorable and the greatest moment of your career?
Impacting people. When they call and tell me you said something that helped me, when they say that something you played inspired me, just to know that I'm making a difference means more than somebody knowing my name or recognizing me, just making a difference. And I think that's what he did, CJ did. He impacted me. I'll never in my life forget him. Never.
Thank you so much for showing the love and for saying those beautiful words. I loved you when you were with 95.7, and I still love you. Tell us where you at now.
I am actually on the internet called HollywoodRadio.com. You can find me on the website. Click the Listen Live button, and we're on 24/7. Thank you, Jesus.
All right, thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you, Candace. Take care.
All right, so we are here with Miss Wonderful and Fun Johnny Walker, the Executive Director of the Memphis Music Commission. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm a little tired. There's been a lot of work, but I'm telling you, man, a lot of DJs was here tonight, a lot of people here, guys I hadn't seen in a very long time who are here tonight, so it's just like, saying hello to everybody and connecting with everybody. Oh, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
It is. So we are all here giving the utmost love to CJ right now, and I want you to tell me about the time that you worked with him and how he has influenced you in your career in music.
Well, I worked with CJ when I was at Magic 101. I was the overnight person, and it was my job to make sure that CJ had numbers in the morning when he came in so that we could keep the power going. But, being a woman with that desire to be same thing that, have the same level of prominence that the guys have, watching him and learning from him and creating a pathway for my career, just watching what he was doing. So I learned a lot from him, and I saw how the guys were doing it and how they were doing it so they could get connected and they could take it to the next level. So I learned a lot from CJ, learned a lot from him.
And how would you say that CJ has influenced the entirety of Memphis radio?
Oh, wow, man. CJ is the consummate DJ. He was in the morning, CJ Morgan, you're a fool. CJ Morgan, good morning, good morning. I mean, I would like to say that CJ was kind of like the pathway to radio comedy, personality radio, just things that made DJs memorable. I mean, personally, I feel like anybody can get on there and play the records But you gotta do that in between the records and around the records that makes you memorable so that people want to listen to your particular show. And so CJ just did a lot of things that made him extremely popular. He was very comedic. He always had people laughing. I think everybody in Memphis knows the CJ Morgan, you a fool. I think everybody was saying that. So, and then the Leroy, the reindeers, Christmas song he had. So he always had things that he was doing that made him memorable, that made his career blossom the way that it did.
That's awesome. And I want to ask you, Ms. Walker, in your career in radio and in music within the city, what has been your greatest moment? Like, what's something that you're going to remember on your deathbed, like the best moment of your career?
Wow, that's a good question there. I have to see if I can think about what would be the greatest moment in my career. I think the greatest moment in my career, I was working at Magic 101. I had never been on a plane before, and Fred Jones, I don't know if you know him, asked me to go out to Denver, Colorado I was doing something like, it was a Luther Vandross concert. And I didn't want anybody to know that I had never been on a plane before. So when they asked me to do it, and Melvin Jones was the program director, and when they asked me to do it, it was like, if I didn't, then it was going to be like, okay, never ask a girl to do it. Never ask, because, she's going to be afraid. So I had to, have a stiff upper lip and get on that plane, even though I had never been on a plane before, and got on that plane. And then I was petrified because I was going to be in Denver, and I had to be on the mic. They didn't know who I was. I had to go out there and pretend that I was all of this that I wasn't. At least I felt like I wasn't. But we were able to pull it off. And I think if there's something that I will remember as it relates to Memphis and my radio career here, it was on that plane to Denver, Colorado, to the Luther Vandross concert. But I got a lot of different things, so.
Awesome. Well, it was great talking to you, Miss Walker. You have a wonderful voice. Like, I love your voice.
Thank you very much.
Cool. It's just chill. Like a serious radio boy.
Well, back in the day, we did a little radio, but I think, for me, I left radio and I went into the record business, and having the opportunity to work with Jay-Z, Mariah Carey, Beyonce, all of the bigger names. So it was kind of like, for me, like I said, like with CJ, you always want that next level. So watching the guys and watching how they were doing things, it inspired me to take my career to the next level. So that's why I spent 15 years in New York as Senior Vice President of Def Jam.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, Johnny. You've been amazing. This is a great event, and you brought the love to CJ.
I think every DJ that came here tonight, we thank all the DJs, we thank all the radio personalities, everybody anybody that came out tonight to show CJ love. Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Walker. I appreciate it. All right, you all, we are here with Mr. Melvin Jones. How are you doing this afternoon?
Doing fine, Candace, doing fine.
All right, so I want to ask you about CJ. How do you think that he has contributed to your career?
Well, I hired CJ. I gave him his first job in radio, in Memphis radio. He had worked at a small station in Clarksdale, Mississippi, but he was a student at the University of Memphis, and I hired him to do 7 to Midnight back around 1977. And he did 7 to Midnight for about a year and a half, and then he was promoted to the morning show. And I would say CJ is one of my top 10 DJs of all time in history, and one of the best morning men in American radio history, regardless of the format, black, white, rock and roll, country, one of the best morning men ever in this country. CJ Superstar Morgan, and Superstar really is his middle name.
Wow. So how do you think that he has contributed to the history of Memphis radio as well?
Well, he's just been an integral part of Memphis radio and Memphis music and the music industry since 1977. He started at WLOK, then he went over to Magic 101, which is V101 now, and then he was #1 there, and then he was #1 in K97 before he left Memphis to go down to New Orleans at WQUE Q93 FM in New Orleans. So he has left his mark on Memphis radio. And a lot of young people that's in the game today, in Memphis radio today, they came up listening to CJ Superstar Mark. He inspired them to get into the business.
He did. And so, being that you hired him, you've known him for a long time. So can you give me the most memorable experience that you've had?
We were working together at Magic 101 FM. This was around 1985, 86. There was another morning show in the marketplace with Larry Steele and Bill Atkins, who's a pastor now. Steele and Bill, they call themselves. And I don't know, but somebody came over from Arkansas, southeast Missouri, around Hayti, Steele. I'm going to get to the point now. But we were working, he was working mornings, I was working afternoons, so they hired us to come over and do a gig, $1,000, man, back in the 80s for one night, So when we get there, we get to this little town. It was Hayti, Sykeston, one of those little towns. We saw all these signs saying, Steele and Bill performing tonight, doing a show at this club. Oh, we saw Steele and Bill is booked over here too. But when we got there, this was the club that we were booked at. So the guy came over and booked us. Steele and Bill was at WKDJ, I believe. Or maybe they were at DIA in the mornings. But when we got to the door, and Steele and Bill was on the door. They had the flyers, and CJ looked at me. He said, "Are you ready to go to work, Bill?" I said, "All right, Steele." We went in there and got that money. We did the whole show at Steele and Bill.
Awesome.
The whole show.
Wow.
And nobody knew. We did the whole show at Steele and Bill. That's a unique story, but that's the truth. Sure is.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Jones, for talking with us. It's been a great event, and you've definitely brought the love to CJ. So I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in and watching L3 Television. For any great stories, email me directly at ericad@l3television.com. Also, check us out on Facebook at L3 Television and visit our website at www.l3television.com. And also, don't forget to be back with us next Wednesday at 10 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. Once again, I'm Erica Draper. Thank you for watching.